Hi, in this talk, we're going to talk about the United States Census. If you're taking my online geography 2020 class, the online section or the face-to-face section, we've kind of departed from the book. We've talked about querying, we talked about maps, aspatial queries. Now we're going to talk about census. Since my 2020 classes are catered to social sciences, the United States Census is a great way and an excellent resource from which we can get information. And we're going to talk about the census, the exercises that I have as part of these tutorials, talk about how to download data from the census. We'll talk a little bit about the census and the use of free data. Typically, there's a lot of free or low-cost data sets. We looked at some examples in tabular data structures with Department for Health Statistics, Department of Corrections has a lot of good data, BRFS, Behavioral Risk Surveillance System, has a lot of good data out there that you can import into spreadsheets or Excel, attach and join to data, and go from there. You know that making a map and typically spatial data, there's not a lot of GIS data out there, but we have GIS data so we can do our links and joins. So we need to be cognizant of issues of projections, data accuracy and precision, the actual numbers that we're getting. Okay, if we're getting the number of deaths by county, well, we need to standardize that by something. And we've already talked about techniques in which we can go through and turn this information into GIS data or calculate new columns as part of this. Okay, we talk about some of the examples. Okay, like the United States Census Bureau typically reports the number of people over the age of 25 for different education levels. So we have to go through and standardize that value or calculate that information. Okay, you need to be careful. Make sure you look at the technical information that tells you what we're looking at. We're going to talk about different census. The census is one of these. Census is an enumeration effort basically to count information about the United States as a number of different enumeration units. Is created to apportion the 435 seats in the U.S. House to the 50 states. We know the House of Representatives has 435 members. The Senate has 100, 2 for each state. The House, the number of people in the House is going to be dependent upon the number of people in the United States. When we look at census geography, we have got the state, the nation, the state, the county or the parish, the tract, block, group, and block. And remember what I was talking about before. Each state has a unique Fips number. Each county has a unique Fips number. Each tract has a unique Fips number. Fips. Block, group, and block have unique Fips codes. And these are the number of people that live within each. So each tract will have about 1,500 to 8,000. Counties are going to range in size. Durham County has about 260,000 people in the county. Other counties are much smaller. So when we look at our census units, here we go from states, counties, tracts, down to blocks. Other ancillary measures, we might collect data at the zip code level, urban areas, metropolitan areas, or micropolitan areas, which are also polygons in shape. Okay. When we collect information at the block level, it's difficult to collect information at the individual block level, because if we know all the information from the census, like income, age, race, how long it takes you to get to work, you might be able to pick out the actual person. And one of the guarantees with the census is that we have guaranteed anonymity, or there's anonymity should be guaranteed when we do the census. But at the block level, okay, very small levels, these are some of the information that we have. Our household relationship, our sex, our tenure, how long do we own or rent our home, sex, male or female, our age, race, and origin or ethnicity. And this is that information that you can collect at any level. Above the census block, these are some of the other things that we can look at. Social characteristics, marital status, single parent home, school enrollment, what is your education attainment, where did you live 5 years ago, do you speak a language other than English at home, who are your caregivers, are you currently employed, where are you employed, how much do you pay in rent, do you have a telephone, do you have a car, how long does it take you to get to work, when did you move in, what is your utilities, did you rent or do you have a mortgage? These are all things, and that's all useful information that you as a social scientist might be able to use or look at. Typically, we get them from a number of different sources. Our tutorials talk about the government and free or federal. You can get them from private companies. That's going to be hit or miss because it's just going to be recompartmentalized census data that you can download or view. We can go to the census.gov that has some basic information. That was created in 1902, and that's one of the biggest sources of GIS data. The original goal of the census was to determine the allocation for the House of Representatives. You can see this for the 2010 census. You can see states like Texas and Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, they gained people in the House. Since there's 435, guess what? States are going to lose. So even though states like Ohio and New York, they probably gained population between 2000 and 2010, they didn't gain it as fast as these other states. And you can see this map here, the blue states increased in population, increased in apportionment. The green states lost. Hopefully the number of states plus, the green total equals the blue total, because we can't add any more people in the House of Representatives. But you can see the regular migration of the U.S. to the west and to the south, except for Louisiana. And you can see this is kind of backlash from Hurricane Katrina in the mid-2000s. Okay, and you can see another one here. This is from 1990 to 2000. You can see the same general trends here. North Carolina gained a seat in 2000, but not in 2010. Not meaning they're not growing, they're just not growing as fast compared to these other states that did achieve a place. So we have different levels of data. We have SF1, that's the short form. So this is the form that everyone fills out. We have SF3 data, that's called the long form, and about 17% of the people, 1 out of every 6 or so households fill it out, and then we kind of extrapolate to the entire population. So SF1 is that information on the short form that everyone answers that I talked about before, about age, race, housing status, housing tenure, and that's probably about it. SF3 includes all of that information that I talked about before. Okay, marital status, how long it takes you to get to work, all of those other things. Okay, and each enumeration is given a summary level and given a unique name according to the Fips Code. The American Fact Finder has tools for extracting data from the census and other data sources. So we can look at business surveys. There's probably about 8 to 10 different data sources up there that we can look at, information about business, commuting patterns, buying patterns that are useful. And we have some really great extraction tools, because when you download this, you're going to download it into an Excel spreadsheet, but you're going to have a unique Fips code that we can attach, run a join that we talked about previously to run these. So how do we figure out where we are on the census? How do we name the census? There's various divisions. We have a state, which is 2 digits, and you notice here they're the numbers, but they're treated as strings. And when we look at the attribute table, they're going to be left justified, meaning they're treated as strings as opposed to right justified. So something like Alabama, that's 0, 1. Okay, if we had a number that was 0, 1, it would just get rid of that leading 0 and call it 1. So you notice when we have leading zeros, that means we're treating it as strings also. So we have some of these keys to let you know if we add 2 Fips codes together, it's not going to give us the sum of those. It's going to be something kind of weird when we run this mathematical operation on textual data. So we have state, we have county, which is 3 digits. So we have 37063 for Durham. We have a tract, which is 6 digits, a block group, which is 1, and then our block. So we can get to 15 digits. Okay, so every block, which contains only 80 to 100 people, some of them have less than that, but these blocks, which contain 100 people, we can be uniquely identified throughout the United States with every other one of these, from the other one, from other ones in the United States. And based on this Fips code to name various. Hi, in this short talk, we're going to talk about Introduction to Geography.
Ooh, sorry about that.
You hear me talking, I'm kind of running things at the same time. Okay, so this is based on the Fips code, the Federal Information Processing Standard. Okay, and where we look at here, what we're looking at here is, say here, this is Guilford County. Our state is 37. Our county is 081, and our Fips code is 37081. You can see over here in Durham, we're 37063. And those are just alphabetical order. So Guilford is higher, it's a G. Durham is D. Orange starts with O, is 135. Alamance is 001. That's the first county alphabetically in the state rather. So you can see what we have here. I've just kind of listed some. We've got Hawaii, we've got Montana, we've got California, Washington, Alaska. Alaska doesn't have counties. I believe they're called boroughs. And actually, our Fips codes go up to about 55. So we include the U.S. Virgin Islands, Guam, Northern Marianas Islands, Puerto Rico, and Washington, D.C. So you can see our Fips code there. Typically, we want to join table with the U.S. How do we differentiate between two counties that have the same name? Using this Fips code. So there's 31 Washington counties in the U.S., but this here is going to justify those. So the Washington County in Oregon is going to start with 41, while one in another state is going to start with 15, or whatever that Fips code is. Our tract, there's about 66,000 of those in the U.S. Tracts are smaller than counties. In Durham County, I think we have about 50 to 60 tracts or so. So they're relatively larger than kind of your neighborhood size. They're occasionally divided or consolidated based on population changes. So we want to have them about the same general size. So if they get too big in areas that are experiencing exponential growth, we'll kind of split them in half. And we'll name them appropriately using 6 characters. So you can see the tract here is 012504. And then the Fips code for this is going to be 37081. 012504. So there might be other states that are 37, which is North Carolina. There might be other counties that are 081. There might be tracts that are 012504 in other counties, but that's the only one that's going to be 37081. So that's how we can start to concatenate these names to a smaller and smaller enumeration unit. Okay, and you can see these are, at the tract level. This is the diversity index for Forsyth County. This is median household income. Block groups, they average about 1,500 people in population. So this gets into the neighborhood level. It's 1 character. Okay, so we just add 1 character after that, and it's a subdivision of a census tract. So you can see some of this is a tract right here in purple, and then in green here, these are my different census block groups within it. Okay, and you can see some of the names here. Okay, it's block 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Since it's only 5, 7, 6, 4, 1, 2, 3. Since it's only 1 digit, eventually we might have to split this into separate tracts. Okay, and you can see the population, how big the population is in these particular census block groups. And then finally we got census blocks. Okay, it has very little information, but we have age, race, and population. Okay, so you can see the number of blocks within a particular block group. Okay. And so we can start to look at our location. So finding your location, it's 37 is your state, 081 is your county, 016, 103, I think this is my house, is my tract, my block group is 3. Then I can even get to my block. So when we select data from our fact finder, you have a couple different selections. We can get all of the data in raw format. That's hard to do. Okay, and when we go through and pick GIS data or pick tabular data that will join to GIS data, because we can go to the census website and download the GIS data at the census tract level. And all it's going to have is the census tract and the Fips code. Now we're going to need data about population, about whatever we want to view. We're going to have to download that Excel spreadsheet. But on our servers, on the Z drive, the GIS data drive, there should be information about block groups, blocks, tracts, counties, and you can use that key, that Fips code, to attach or to join to anything else. And when we go through the census website, we have to pick a topic, we have to pick a geography. Okay, and that's over in the left-hand corner. This is fairly new to me. They kind of rolled this out about a year ago. It has SF1 data, so you can see it's got 2010 SF2 data, population, housing characteristics, 2001 SF 100% data means it's collected from 100% of the people. This is tenure, household size, and age of householder for 2010. This is the different type of information that I was talking about before. This is the name of the table on the left. Here's SF3 data. I went to look at SF3 and you can see it's still for 2000 data. A lot of the 2010 SF3 data is currently being put online for the web by the census. So information about education attainment, information about housing tenure, rent. We still don't have those online for 2010, and you can see some of the information that we have. Sex by education attainment for population, some of these other things. In terms of people, we've got disabilities, insurance, fertility status, living quarters, number of units and structure, vehicles available, and these are the different programs that we have. American Community Survey, which is taken at 1, 3, and 5-year intervals. That's the current information that I work with to get 2010 data, because sometimes 2000 and 2010 data might not match up because we've created new census tracts or enumeration block groups between 2000 and 2010, so it won't match up. Non-employer statistics, and then we can get historical census, and these are typically in PDF format, but you can download those and start to put the information into there where they kind of match up. And then please pay attention to the YouTube postings that kind of tie in with this stuff here.